Background updates. Previously in iOS 6, when you needed to update an app, it would be a little red circle on your App Store icon indicating you had some app updates. In iOS 7, you can update all your apps automatically. In Settings and iTunes and App Store, turn updates on if you want this to occur, automatically updating your apps. So when you go into the App Store and into the Updates tab, any app that needs to be updated will be updated automatically. And this list here is apps that have been updated automatically. You can tell when an app's been updated because it will have a little blue dot next to it. So Box has been updated recently. Once you open an app that has been updated, that blue dot will go away. So if I open Box and close it again, that blue dot goes away. If you'd rather manage the process yourself, go back into Settings, iTunes and App Store and turn off updates. And now any update that comes through the App Store, you'll see that familiar little red circle, and you can update it yourself by going into the Updates tab, updating them one by one or update all. Spotlight search. If you want to search for anything on your iPad, in iOS 6 you had to scroll to the right and there would be a search screen. So on any home screen, drag down somewhere in the middle of the screen and you can now search. So if I want to search for eBay, the top hit there is the app eBay, and then it looks at the mail messages, and if I want to see more of them, if I tap here, the search will go away. So I need to hide the keyboard and then I can scroll up and down and look at the messages. To set up your Spotlight search, no change there. Settings, General, Spotlight search, and select those items that you want to be included in your search results and the order you want them included in. Applications is the top search result here. If I want notes to be included, I need to tap it to get the tick. Using the handles, I might move that up to the second. And then try another search. Go into Notes. There's an eBay note there. So it should be found if I search again for eBay. Top hit is the app and Notes is the second result. Then we've got the mail. So you can order and reorder your search results. Control Center. If you swipe up from the bottom of the screen, there will be a little tray with the most common tasks that you may need to do. Instead of going back and delving into your settings and trying to find these things, you can do them now with a quick swipe up from the bottom of the screen. Then there's a little arrow here which indicates that if you touch that, swipe down, it will disappear. Swipe up and you've got the control center back. So you have airplane mode, wireless, turn wireless on and off. It won't let you adjust your wireless settings. You still need to go into settings to do that. But it activates, turns on, turns off. Bluetooth, do not disturb, and mutes your iPad. You've got the volume controls here, playback controls for media. So if there was a song or a video, you can activate it from here. You've got the volume, the brightness, activates the camera, and the clock. On the iPhone you do get a couple more features, but on here you don't, and this is AirPlay. So at the moment I have AirPlay activated as it's projecting this screen. If I had the latest iPad, I'd also have AirDrop there. Now you can access the control center from the lock screen. So if I turn off the iPad and turn it on, there is a indication that there's something to swipe up at the very bottom where there is a grey line. So if I swipe up, I can get control center from the lock screen, so I could actually go straight to the camera. Now if you want to disable that, then into Settings, and there is Control Center Setting, and I can access it on lock screen or I can turn that off. So if I turn it off and then go back to the lock screen, there is no longer any way I can slide up and activate that. I can still get to my camera on the lock screen, but I cannot access the control center. So I turn it on because I find that useful. The other one is access within apps. You can turn that on or off. So if I turn that on and go into an app, say into Notability, any app to demonstrate. If I need to scroll on the app, I need to scroll from the bottom. I'm trying to scroll down the page and I'm accidentally going to open the control center just by the way I scroll up. So the closer I get to the bottom of the screen, the more likely I'm going to scroll up. That is annoying. If that annoys you, then into the settings, control center, and disable access within apps. And there you won't accidentally open the control center. If you want some control over what websites your children have access to, you can do that in restrictions. So in Safari, there's a website. If I want to restrict access to a website, go into Settings, General, Restrictions, enable the restrictions and put in a passcode twice. And now I can restrict websites. So if I go down to allowed content and websites. So at the moment all websites are allowed. Now I can just limit the adult content, or I can say specific websites only, and if I do that, then it starts to put in all of the kids sites, and most of these are American. But I can add my own, so maybe I'm going to add a website. Is allowed access, 9 news. Then close that and go back into Safari. Any websites that I had already there are now going to be unreachable, so it's now restricted. Now I can allow that website on the fly, but I need to put in my passcode. So any users, kids, grandkids, unsuitable contact, even in schools, it would be useful. You can restrict it. It can also allow access. Now if I go into a new tab and go into the 9 News, which was the website that I allowed, it allows that website. It's not restricted, and those restrictions will stay in force until you disable restrictions. So going back into Settings, General, Restrictions, put in your passcode and disable it. And now I go back into Safari. I shouldn't get any restrictions. So this was the one that was restricted, BuzzTouch. It's no longer blocked. Sharing photos and videos. There are now 2 more ways that you can share photos and videos. You can share your photos to Flickr and for videos to Vimeo. So when in the Photos app and in the Photos section, when I tap on a photo and go to the sharing button, I now have a Flickr choice, as well as the usual ways to share your photos. I can share to Flickr. And all I need to do to enable that is to make sure that I have a Flickr account and that I have signed into that. So in the settings, there is a Flickr setting where you can sign in. There's also a Vimeo setting. So I'd have to install the Vimeo app first, which I haven't done, and also need a Vimeo account. When I go back into the Photos app and select the video, and I want to share the video, I can now share it to Vimeo as well as Facebook and YouTube and iCloud. Some changes in Safari also. Now instead of having a bookmarks bar, the bookmarks bar is now your favorites. So if I went into my bookmarks, any existing bookmarks are now in a favorites folder, and I can edit them and move them around and delete them as you normally would. Create new folders. If you want to add something to your bookmarks, here's a website, the sharing button, add it to the bookmark, and I want to put it into the favorites so you can see where location is. I can change that location. and put it into the normal bookmarks or into a bookmarks existing folder. If I wanted to put it in the favorites, tap the favorites, change the name if I wanted to, and save. Come back to bookmarks, go into the favorites, and it's the last one, BuzzTouch, and it will take me back to that site. And you notice also that you have your favorites bar across the top. So here is the favorites bar there, like the bookmarks bar in iOS 6. And to show or hide that, back into settings and to Safari. And you can now show the favorites bar. Another thing in Safari is the search bar. At the top here, where it says buzztouch.com, there is now a unified search and address bar. So instead of having separate search and an address bar, it's all in one. So if I'm looking for something, so I can tap the cross to delete any existing search. It gives me already some pages there that I've already opened before. So I can pick one of those, or I can add a new address. So if I went into the 9 News site, 9 News, if I know the address, I can type 9msn.com.au straight into that search box. If I didn't know that address, then I could just do a search, 9 News, and it will give me the Google search result. And pick something in the Google search, it will take me to Google. So that anything in the top hits, it'll take you straight to that web page. If I pick something from the Google search, I'll pick 9 News from the Google search, then it will take me to Google and give me the Google search results. And then you've got ads at the top, and then you start to get your search results. So I could get to it that way. Multitasking is new in iOS 7, as well as force quitting an app. Instead of swiping up with 4 fingers from the bottom of the screen, you now have a different way to multitask. 2 taps on the home button will get you to the multitasking area. Now it comes up with the current app that I'm looking at. So there's Safari, and I can go back and forward either direction to pick any different application. And the apps are in the order that you last opened them. So this is the one I was currently on, Safari. Before that I was in the settings in Safari, then I was in the Photos app, then I was in something called Sketch. So if I want to swap to a different app, all I have to do is tap the home screen twice, and then I can move across to a different one. So I can go back into settings, just tap it, and it will go back into settings. Double click again, pick something else, so I can go back to the home screen, just tap it, double click again, and you can find apps that you were using quite quickly. You can also see, if you wanted to have a quick look at what an app says, I can see quite easily what's on that Notability one without having to open it. To force quit an app, instead of holding it down and waiting for the red circle with the line through it, a different way to force quit an app, just swiping up with 2 fingers, closes them down. So this force quits an app, finding the app that's misbehaving and swiping it away, and that closes it. So if the eBay app was not working as it should, I can force close it by swiping it away. That is multitasking in iOS 7. Photos have also changed in iOS 7. There's a new icon, and when you open the app, you're confronted with a different view of all your photos, instead of the usual camera roll where you had to find and scroll to find your photos. This time they're organised in years, and then collections, and then moments, so you can drill down to find a specific photo. If I knew I took a photo in 2013, I can sort of vaguely see the thumbnail images of them. And so the top of 2013 is going to be around January, towards the last photos taken at the current date. So you've got a rough idea about whereabouts in the year your photo was taken. So if I find a photo just towards the bottom, I can see a photo, and I can move my finger across to see individual photos a little bit bigger, and then when I find one, just let go. And now we're looking at moments. An individual photo is a moment, and in this collection there were 7 moments. If I go back, then I can see the collection those moments came from. around about the 31st of August to the 2nd of September was when those photos were taken. And I can scroll up now in collections through the months and finding specific photos. When you find a photo in a moment, so if I open one of these photos, now I can open individual moments and I can still trash it if I wish. I can edit it. And now you have the usual editing information in iPad, but there's also been the addition of filters. So I could make that the process filter, apply it, save it, and it's saved to the camera roll. So that photo has now been enhanced with a filter. I can share the photos, so I can share the moment, or I could share some photos in that moment. So if I share some photos, I can just select a couple, share them, and these are your sharing options. With Flickr, the new edition, copy them, print them. If you want to see the camera roll as you're used to, that's now in albums. So you have a camera roll, and now all the photos are just listed in the order that you took them. No organization, no filtering. You can do the slideshows from the camera roll, and in the albums is where the slideshows occur. So if I wanted to do a slideshow of my holidays, select the album, then the slideshow, select the transition, play some music, and start the slideshow. The camera too has some changes in iOS 7. In the settings, if you look at the photos and camera settings, in photos you can turn on photo stream, where automatically new photos and videos that you take will be sent to your iCloud account and then pushed out to all other devices that also have photo stream enabled. And you can create photo streams that you can share with other people. Once you share a photo stream, the people you share it with can also add and contribute to that photo stream. Slideshow settings are here. So how long do you want to play each slide for, whether you want to repeat them or shuffle them. The camera, if you wanted the grid on the camera, because that was in the camera itself, it's now in the settings. The other one is the HDR photo. You can have a setting where you turn HDR on, and it will take three photos and blend them together and give you the best possible result of all those three photos. And so the setting there is to keep the normal exposed photo as well. You can access the camera from the normal camera app. From the control center, there's a camera, and in the lock screen you can also access the camera as long as you have control center turned on in your settings. The controls look a little different. If you want an HDR photo, you can turn it on and off here. So if I took a picture now, then it would take 3 shots. The controls look very different. So if I wanted to take a photo which was HDR, to turn it on, take a picture, and it's taking a square picture at the moment. If I want to change that to a normal photo, I just have to move that toolbar, if you like, up and down. Moving it up and down gives me the photo, the video. So I'm going to take a square photo, something that would go on Instagram, for example, and I want it to be an HDR photo. There's the shutter. So it takes 3 exposures and blends those into the best one. So square photo, the only options you have in iOS 7 on the iPad is to take a square photo or a normal photo or a video. On the iPhone, you're able to take a panorama. Video, when you move the toolbar, video camera shutter now becomes the red dot, and now the video is recording, and you can see the time as the video records. Move it along, it's just my messy desk, and tap to stop, and it's again in your camera roll. The top is the front facing camera, so if I tap that button, the camera would be facing me. It also allows you to do burst, so taking successive shots one after the other, and that might be good for some action shots, sport. If I hold down the camera button continuously, it's just taking burst shots, so you can see in the bottom right hand corner it's just taking frame after frame. Then going to the camera roll, back into the camera roll. You can see all the burst shots there. So you might take somebody running or whatever, and you can just pick out the best shots and delete the rest.